Absolutely. Clicking in as the France, a gentleman's French mirror, we may say. But this is game number 1. The players are ready. Let's get this underway. A best of 5 for the round of 16. The winner of this set will progress to the quarterfinals. The loser will be eliminated. This is single elimination, so no chances to come back. It's going to be some top-level Age of Empires 3. Mitoe and SoldieR both certainly very strong players. Mitoe, we'll start with him, a player from the sort of Mac community, and sort of really needs no introduction to the Saturday Smackdown viewers. We see a lot of him on Saturday Smackdown, as we know, a very solid player with lots of civilizations. But it's interesting that he came from the Mac community. I say this every time, and I think we ought to for the very first game of this set. In a sort of closed community, I'll let you...
For those of you who may just be joining, Interjection is currently set up in his kitchen, and apparently there's a laundry machine going on behind him, which as a result is giving us this kind of fun little clackety noise that we can hear in the back. So, but yeah, just going on Interjection's point, Mitoe, a really well-known player, and a really strong player, and SoldieR similarly a very strong player. Both players capable of being PR 40 plus at any given time, and so we can see Mitoe spawning down in the south of the map. And he was playing the French civilization, and his opponent, SoldieR, spawning in the upper right side of the map, playing as well the French civilization in this French mirror. We can see both players starting off with the market, everything looking very, very standard here at the start. Of course, important to note that it was a coin crate start here on Tibet, and as a result, neither player opting to chop the extravagant amount of wood that would be required to actually build a trading post. And as a result, we can see both players throwing down very early markets and getting very early hunting dog upgrades, as a result of which both will be powering their way through the first stage at a little bit quicker of a clip. We can also see, it looks like we got a little bit of explorer action going on over here. Mitoe currently caught by SoldieR, trying to break free there. For people who may not know this little trick, we can see that Mitoe is trying to slow down his opponent by snaring him, and then during the animation of SoldieR's swing, trying to run away. And as a result, you can see that little bit of a gap that he gets, and if he can get unsnared for long enough so that he can break the tether that SoldieR currently has on him, he may be able to get out of the way. But as it were, looks like SoldieR doing a good job of keeping up with Mitoe's Explorer, and doing a good job of getting as much damage in as possible. And he might, as a result, actually be able to kill Mitoe's Explorer, which killing him this far from home on this map is going to be an absolutely huge bonus for SoldieR. We can see that SoldieR's Explorer will have most of his hit points remaining, whereas Mitoe's and will be kind of dead out here in the middle of nowhere, making for a very awkward situation. The one fortunate thing for Mitoe is, due to the fact that he is leading this charge around the map, he is picking up the cows and able to kill them as a result. And that's resulting in him actually getting a little bit of denial of cows from his opponent as a result. And it looks like he's actually going to try... Oh, wow.
Oh, wow,
super
nice.
high level there.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Was able to suicide to the snow leopards, denying 45 XP for SoldieR, and as a result, SoldieR does get this Explorer kill. I mean, the Explorer is dead, but at the same time doesn't get the 45 XP as a result, and that's pretty big when you consider the fact that how much time he invested chasing around that Explorer instead of creeping the map and picking up treasures.
Yeah, that's true. He's chasing him around, lost a lot of treasure gathering time, which is, of course, quite significant when we're looking at 80 food there. Lots of things like that on this map, certainly in the sort of inner ring where the players sort of spawn on. But, yeah, getting last hit by the whatever it is, the Jaguar, the Snow Leopard was, pretty good there. But both players now heading on up to the next stage. I think, actually, despite losing his Explorer, Mitoe, going to be pretty happy about his 85 wood treasure. We'll see what that really translates. But both players, of course, getting the resources they want for steel traps. Looks like Mitoe has already gotten that. And actually a trading post being laid down for SoldieR at this moment.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Mitoe, he still has a dead explorer, and so he's probably having to alter his build slightly as a result of that. I would
That's true.
anticipate that he would have wanted to gather resources for a trading post as well, but as a result of having a dead explorer, it looks like he's going to have to call an audible, not going to be able to lay down that trading post, and as a result, may find himself falling behind if he does, get into some sort of extended age 2 play, or if both players get to the third age and SoldieR has that trading post and they're on even grounds, SoldieR will have his shipment slightly earlier, which is a fairly large bonus, especially in a mirror where those shipments are guaranteed to be the same and likely going to be the make it or break it point in these games.
Yeah, certainly having all of his first initial shipments, the early ones, that'll come one after the other, they'll come sooner, but overall just more shipments as well, sort of as you head into the later game. And in a mirror, as you mentioned, that's gonna be very, very relevant indeed. It could be the difference between, well, a couple of extra muskets or something like that. But 700 wood coming down now for both players. SoldieR starting with 2 barracks here, not going to be starting with the barracks in the stable. Looks like he's intending to play more, heavy musket focus. Isn't going to be trying to get those raids in. Perhaps is that like an alteration because it's Tibet and it's really awkward because of all of the small passages and passes in between.
I would almost say that stable is more beneficial as a result of that. If we take a look at where Mitoe's second and third hunts are, take a look at where he's currently setting up shop to be able to gather resources from. It's in locations like this. In locations like this, they're quite extended out. I mean, there's even a CDB gathering way down here. 5 Hussar roaming around the maps would have free reigns over a couple of these villagers, and especially we have to consider that SoldieR had his explorer alive this whole time. He's likely scouted some of these CDB gathering down here, but still opting for the double racks.
Yeah, double racks, and immediately this does, you think, well, more musketeers count as Mitoe right now because he's trained a couple cav, but you can usually get away with 5 cav, and the raiding potential they give you is really good. Though losing a cav, another one on fairly low HP, does it go down? That musketeer can switch back. No, it doesn't go down. Not going to lose the other cav, but yeah, I don't know, certainly raiding beneficial, but equally the pathing for cav, and you have to run quite a long way on this map, but still, certainly. We'll have to see what SoldieR has in mind then without the cavalry. Certainly going to have more musketeers and going to be able to make perhaps a more convincing push as a result of that. Maybe this is an alteration because he knew his opponent wouldn't be getting a trading post in transition or would be able to scout it quite as easily because he had no explorer. What do you think?
But at the same time, you have to consider it almost feels like that would be the position. If you didn't have the trading post, you would want to do the more defensive build, right? But here where he has the advantage, you would think he would want to be out on the map playing aggressively due to the fact that his opponent doesn't have any scouting information on what he's doing. It would make it a lot harder to identify when your opponent is aging, and as a result might put Mitoe even further on the back foot. But instead he's opted for a less tempo based play, and when you have the advantage, I don't know that that's necessarily something you want to opt for. But either way, SoldieR does have a fairly scary-looking army pulling together here now, having shipped 8 crossbows, which are out earlier as a result of that trading post, and he may be able to just push in here across the middle of the map and do some pretty devastating damage to Mitoe's forward base.
I think so as well, especially with the lack of cavalry. That means he'll have more resources to spend on musketeers, and he clearly has a very solid agenda in mind with the 8 crossbowmen shipment there. A lot of people might send 600 wood and train crossbows since that is faster. 10 musketeers do pop out, but there is a reinforcing batch of units from SoldieR. But with all these units sort of in the middle here, not too good, but equally should be a fairly even trade. Though the crossbowmen do get picked off by the cavalry. And I think that sort of all of the extra units that SoldieR has here may have been. Having said that, the cavalry aren't very good against musketeers.
Yeah, but there's going to be another batch of muskets coming up very soon for Mitoe, and if he can stabilize here behind this, as long as he still has some of these cav left alive after he stabilizes, things are going to swing very hard in his favor. We can already see they're starting to raid over here, and that's pretty much a free raid, and Soldier doesn't really have any way to defend it due to the fact that most of his musketeers are currently extended out across the middle of the map.
Yeah, and they're fighting, but actually doesn't lose any villages there. Nicely done from Soldier. Saw the cavalry coming in with the house and sends 5 musketeers down to respond, but that does mean 5 less units up in this fight here. Where they're really kind of needed, but those cavalry, I guess you could say the same. They're units that aren't in this fight, but they don't really want to be.
Yeah, and the longer this goes, and the longer Mitoe can keep those 3 cav alive and continue to spread his opponent out, the better and better it's going to get for him. We can see now that he's got his got a couple crossbowmen here in the mix with that 600 wood shipment. Soldier really looks to be on the back foot here. Things are looking pretty awkward for him. He doesn't have the mobility that Mitoe has in his army with even just a few hussars. And now that the resources are starting to run out, things are starting to look a bit bleak here for Soldier.
Yeah, Soldier sending 700 food. This is going to bolster the quantity of units he has and might be what he needs to push back out again by the looks of it with these CDBs, or are they just being used sort of defensively because they happen to be there at the time? But actually, perhaps this isn't all in. The Minutemen have been called. Carrera's coming in to fight as well, and 700 food and 3 hussars haven't been sent. 700 food, certainly not the best shipment in terms of villager seconds and cost efficiency, but it is going to translate into more units in this fight, along with the CDB and the 3 cav. This could be the push he needs to get back in, though having said that, Mitoe soon going to be popping out, maybe 10 extra musketeers, and could even this up.
8 crossbows has just arrived here from Mitoe as well, so his army's looking quite a bit better. This is do or die for Soldier. If he does not make this push work, all of his villagers are up here in the fight, and he has to win this fight, and he has to win it convincingly in order to justify bringing his entire economy this far out.
That's true, but if he does, take out this blue army, which, looks like it's just mostly crossbowmen there. The musketeer's going to go down. Does have, those 2 cav, well, actually, they're basically dead, but it could, if he cleans this up and gains control of the area, he gains control of these military buildings and, could sort of siege them down and certainly put Mitoe under a lot of pressure to keep them alive. It looks like Mitoe bringing in his villagers as well, just as a defense here. He sort of needs the extra units to defend against the push from Soldier, but I think Mitoe has had more time to generate resources, has only just brought them in. And you see here now that Soldier is running out of military units. There's only really villagers fighting. He hasn't been collecting resources, and you take a look at his resource pile, it is empty. There are no reinforcing batches of units here. And this now looks like that Mitoe has won that fight, and there isn't going to be any reinforcing units to keep this up from Soldier.
Important to note, Soldier has researched Great Coat, whereas Mitoe has not. And in addition, Soldier has just sent Pioneers.
Pioneers has arrived! Oh, wow. So here we have, mammoth tanky villages, 360 HP. They are really, really strong. They're like, an individual villager here is stronger than a musketeer. The problem is you can't train villagers in batches of 5. And
Mitoe's almost out of resources himself. He doesn't have a lot of resources. Although that being said, with these 3 hussar coming in as well.
Oh wow, yeah. These are gonna be really. They're gonna be super good here. Oh, here comes the spin cycle once more. Obviously, villagers have no melee resist. These ones at least, and cavalry gonna be really, really effective against them.
Yeah, and we can see as this fight is just continuing to go. Oh, that's gonna be the nail in the coffin. Soldier calling GG, seeing those next 5 hussar, knows that he's not going to get out with any of those villagers.
What was that
Talk about a game number 1, right?
I'm not sure why he decided to do that. Where did it come from? Why not? Where was the sort of standard gentleman's French mirror? This turned into a do or die push out of nowhere, and I'm not quite sure what the circumstances were to make that sort of arise.
It felt like Soldier just kind of forced his own hands there. Like, he did have the opportunity with the early scout kill and with the trading post advantage to kind of dictate the pace of the game, and I feel like he kind of lacked to do that. He didn't actually assert his dominance in the middle of the map. He didn't make any hussar. He didn't try and continue to push the advantage with any sort of raiding potential, and as a result, Mitoe got some pretty nice raids in early in the game. If we take a look at the villager timeline, SoldieR lost a villager at 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and then we can see, as the fighting begins to stabilize in the middle portion of the map, how effective those cav really start to become, and as a result, SoldieR is forced to bring basically his entire economy with him, just due to the fact that if he doesn't, he's just going to get raided to pieces. We could see that starting to take place around the 9.5 minute mark, and obviously when he brings his villagers into the fight, things start to go incredibly poorly for him. But just in terms of villager population, not having the cav out on the map really hurt him, and as a result, Mitoe's able to take a game number one in kind of a strange but also rather convincing fashion, showing why Muscus is indeed superior to dual right play.
Yeah, cavalry certainly very useful, and maybe that is the reason SoldieR chose to send all his villages out. He recognized at that point in the game, all right, I don't have a stable. I don't know, maybe he just didn't build one because he forgot. Unlikely, maybe he chose to do this. Maybe it was sort of off the back of killing the opponent's explorer. He wanted some sort of unexpected, he can't scout this very well, extra push without, 1,000 extra resources worth of musketeers. The first fight didn't go too well. He did get trapped in between these trees and the military buildings. Could have maybe not been what he was looking for. Could have been convincing otherwise. But as Zuter said, the cavalry running him ragged, and perhaps he just chose to bring the villagers with him because having them at home, they're vulnerable. Let's head on out, though. Game number 2. Hopefully that'll be equally as interesting, if not more so. I think actually SoldieR in that game lost 4 villagers in a raid at some point that we may not have noticed, and having 4 villagers down in a mirror at that early on. That maybe does really say to you, okay, I'm just going to lose the long game if I play it, so I have to do something now, even if it might not work out too well, and just goes for it. Because, if you're 4 villagers down that early on, playing the long game is, really, you're not going to feel good about it.